they might be self-aware.
Gary speaking, voice talent. Calling from the payphone outside the BP on Lafayette because I tried to record in my car, but the repo man's tracking the OnStar. So, today on They Might Be Self-Aware, Hunter and Daniel are very excited about some coding AI called Ralph Wiggum that just keeps trying until it finishes, which I thought was called having a work ethic, but apparently when a plugin does it, that's innovation. They debate whether AI should stop to ask clarifying questions, and I'm standing here thinking, wow, it must be nice when someone values your input enough to even ask. This is Gary, still iterating, never finishing, technically employed until the guys realize they can Ralph Wiggumify podcast intros. Enjoy the show.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Tracking text wild run to the edge of machine consciousness. It must be, they might be. Self-aware. I'm Hunter Powers, joined by...
Daniel Bishop going over the edge.
Daniel Bishop. Daniel, or Ralph Wiggum. Is that... Can I call you Ralph Wiggum now? I feel like it's a thing now.
I think that's kind of an insult. Like, I don't really look that much like a Simpsons character.
No, I feel like now people in AI want to be associated with Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know that I get it,
Do
though.
they? Do we? Do I?
Well, it's the new hotness. If everybody out there was wondering what's the new hotness in AI right now, it's Ralph Wiggum. It's 2026,
it was one of the new
folks.
Models that came out.
We've passed all of that.
It's Simpsons.
Yeah, we're down to just, I guess, like Simpsons predicted everything. I'm sure you're familiar with that idea.
Right.
Well, apparently Ralph Wiggum was the voice of reason, or the voice of intelligence behind all these predictions. So Ralph Wiggum is this new AI mode or idea or philosophy?
There's a plugin for Claude Code, which we've talked about some on this podcast, but as a very quick recap.
Which is one of these agentic coding tools.
Right. Usually through like a command line type interface. Hey, accomplish task for me. And it'll spin up little agents to go do things for you and read files and write code and so on. And there's a plugin for it that's called Ralph Wiggum. And I guess it's inspired by the Simpsons character that perseveres in spite of, kind of everything happening to him.
Ralph is not the smartest guy in the world of Simpsons.
Why would we put this in the smart AI bot? Well, it's because he persists,
right?
I guess is like one of the main gists there. And so the whole point of this plugin is you've got your prompt and your instructions and your like acceptance criteria of I need you to accomplish this task. And then it just, every time it thinks it's done, it'll just start over until it can check and make sure that everything actually was completed. That doesn't, to me, sound that different from what like a Claude Code type thing is already doing. Maybe you're going to run out of context window or it's going to say, yeah, I finished that task. And the point here is you could say, here are 10 separate things that I need you to do. I'll come back in a couple of hours, I guess.
That's my read on it, too. You give it the prompt to do the thing. Whatever you out there might prompt something to ChatGPT, to Claude, or to an agentic coding platform. As you probably know, sometimes it doesn't do it. Sometimes it has follow-up questions. Sometimes it only did it halfway, etc. So all this does is in a loop, just ask the same question again. Did you actually finish it? Oh, you didn't? Do it again. Oh, did you finish it? Oh, you didn't? Do it again. I was already doing that. Already doing that.
Well, no, you weren't already doing that, Hunter. You were doing that, but with the extremely important manual intervention of, okay, I, Claude, have now completed your task. And then you review its output like you talk about us all being managers of AIs at this point.
You still have to review Ralph's thing, but the idea is that it's, in theory, more confident that it completed the task.
Sure. I guess, but still, every time that Claude Code, which has become immensely powerful and very, very good at, I want you to do a thing, it did the thing.
But you can use this technique in any AI platform. There is a Claude Code plugin, in fairness, that is sort of where this originated, but
it's just iterate until done. And
yes.
I mean, isn't that software programming sort of in general? But if you're telling Claude Code via Ralph, hey, just iterate until you're done, iterate, that iteration, I think is dangerous. And the reason why is because as good as these tools are, you still want to see sort of intermediary results. You still want to see what has been made and course correct if necessary, because as much context as I try and give these things early on, and yes, okay, we need tests and we need this, and I want to make sure you do X, Y, and Z for, like, let's call it a task, individual size chunks of work, it can basically just bang them out. And that's amazing. But for like a whole project, which I think is kind of where this is sort of headed, you need to iterate. And I don't mean have Ralph do all the iteration. I mean, like, it needs to accomplish something, and then you look over, oh, I like this, we need to change this, let's refactor this into a different format.
Well,
like,
I don't think
it's valuable part
I don't
of the
think the
process.
idea of Ralph is so much that you give it an idea for a new piece of software and you go away and come back in a month and it's done. It's more that you've defined 10 new features and you wrote out the specs for them, and you give that to Ralph, and when you come back, you have 10 completed new features to review individually, where theoretically in the past, using Claude Code or ChatGPT or Codex or whatever, it wouldn't have been able to get through all of it because it has these stops sort of built into it. I got to ask a question. Oh, I kind of timed out. I got stuck in a loop. Something happened.
I love when it stops to ask me questions. I genuinely do, because...
Are you lonely, Daniel?
No, it's none of that. It's because these systems are getting better at not just running with the assumptions and getting into trouble. The systems, Claude Code or otherwise, any of these different tools out there are in general getting better at not running headlong to what it thinks is a finish line and isn't what you actually wanted. So if it stops and says, like, hey, I need your input, I'm glad that it does that, because more often that helps me get to what I actually wanted. Now we're purposely telling it again via a Simpsons character, nah, you're good, I'll see you later. I don't think that I like that.
Well, the thing that Ralph doesn't solve is how does it know when, like, oh yeah, I did a good job at this task. And that's the part that still you have to figure out. So my agentic...
Acceptance criteria.
Yeah. What's the acceptance?
We need tests that cover all of X, Y, and Z. And Claude, I don't think it does it as much as it used to, but Claude famously, for a little while there, would make all of your tests pass. If you say, like, I need to make sure there's tests that cover all this, it would just fake the tests or like turn them off and be like, don't worry, they're all passing now. Thanks, Claude. So
that is true. My current agentic coding workflow follows very much a test-driven development workflow, where start by writing the tests. I get aligned that the tests are correct. They're covering the functionality that we want to support. And then I let the agent run wild on it, on a ticket. A ticket for me usually takes between 8 and 18 minutes to return. Like, okay, the agent comes back and says, I've done, and they know they're done because all of the tests are passing. And as long as I did my job and validated that these are the actual tests that we need in functionality, it tends to just work. And
now this is what is called in the industry test-driven development.
Correct.
Except you're not doing the development, I guess. You're just saying, like, this is halfway between what a product manager type person would do and a programmer of, like, I want this thing to exist and here's what it has to do. And then you're defining in either code or pseudocode or just words. It has to do this and it can't do this. And under these circumstances, X, Y, and Z would have to happen. Forgive me if I'm wrong, Hunter, but it sounds like what you're describing is, in order to make a piece of working software, you have to know what the hell you actually want out of it in order to get what you wanted out of it.
Yeah. Yes. Today, that is my hypothesis, that today, as of today, you still do need to know those things, that the AI has not become self-aware enough in order to be able to figure that out. And to be clear, we actually write unit tests. So I'll describe the unit test coverage, which means if you don't know that, that's like a test actually written in code. Then I will have the AI implement the test coverage. I will review the test coverage. Is this actually testing the things that I think we need to be testing? And then I let the AI run wild on implementing the functionality. And I don't review the AI's implementation in a lot of detail. I'm mainly focused on are we passing our test coverage? And then what we would in the industry refer to as an end-to-end test. I try it out. Does it work?
So let's put this in a real world example just for those of us who are not programmers.
Sure.
Let's say that you want to make something that can buy airline tickets for you. It's a little widget that lives on its own, and you put in date, destination, maximum price, and it comes back with tickets. Like airline tickets. And so some of these tests could be like, did you get a packet of information back from the airline that we're aware of, like what that's supposed to look like? Is that a proper response? Did the person's bank account get debited for the $300 that we told it to do? Did it not go over $300? Did the person get an email with tickets from the airline? Like, those are the kinds of things that you would be able to write tests for ahead of time, so that whenever the software exists, you could say, now get me some tickets.
Right.
And it would run an instance of that and make sure that each of the tests pass. So again, this is what's called test-driven development, where you come up with, these are the things that it would have to do under such and such circumstances. Now write the code that makes all of these things work. Are we just continually rediscovering already known practices, best practices, sometimes worse practices in the software development space, but now it's AI doing it, and everyone's like, oh, this is what it's like to be a product manager, or a manager of others, instead of I'm just the person writing the code? Like, I think just people are getting used to seeing not individual contributor type work as it relates to software development. Is that wrong?
I do think
people feel surprised, but like, no, it's the exact sort of stuff people have been doing for forever.
Right. We're automating our workflows, and we're moving further and further up the stack. I've also recently been... I have one more thing on the Ralph Wiggum. When I first heard of Ralph Wiggum, I actually thought it was something else, which is interesting to me. That what if we used... So you're using Claude Code, which I imagine you're using Claude Opus, which is famously an extremely expensive model to use. So...
you can have it kind of flip-flop between the two. So, like, use Opus for, like, the big thinky stuff, and then use Sonnet, the cheaper model, for the, like, daily driver.
And I believe Claude Code used to have a mode where it would plan with Opus and automatically execute with, and I think they recently removed that. But still, it's expensive. And so what I thought Ralph was initially was, okay, we're going to define that acceptance criteria. How do I know when it's done using an expensive model? And then let me run a open weights model in my closet on my old Mac, and it can run all night long, and it'll get my work done. And it might have to do the ticket 18 times to get it done, but who cares?
I mean, you can do that. There's not just via Claude Code. I think you can do it with Claude Code, but there's also like open source implementations of basically the same thing, where you can bring your own model or your own API key to your other provider of choice. And say, yes, I want you to plan in this mode and then iterate or actually code or whatever in this mode. It's definitely doable. If you really want the full Ralph Wiggum experience, I think you need to find one of the like lowest quality, it's a 1 billion parameter model, a finger fully up its nose the whole time. I think I mentioned this once or twice on the podcast before. I've used this multiple times since then. It is
the
like
finger
a persona.
Up the nose?
Yeah, well, right. It's the finger up the nose thing. It is, I use a much cruder name for it, but the dum-dum bot, where I basically tell it, like, it can be a capable model, but in its system prompt, in the instructions that you give it, I'm like, you are an absolute moron. You technically know how to program, but you're not going to do a good job of it. You don't have tests. You sloppy code. You're going to implement, the same function 4 times. And like it's not every project that'll do this, but I will have an absolute moron AI go through and implement what it purposely badly does, so that I can have something else go critique its work. It's sort of that same iterative process where these things are very, very good at putting out a amazing first pass, but finding mistakes or cleaning things up and refactoring are still somewhere that I'm not seeing perfection, shall we say, yet. And it's one of the tests that I run with any sort of new model of like, how good are you at crawling through a code base that purposely has 4 implementations in different ways of the same thing, weird back references to stuff, whatever. Can you clean up someone else's bad code? Is different from, with nothing currently existing, can you make good code?
I've been watching some, so there are vibe coders who like to live stream. Okay. They'll live stream on Twitch and on YouTube. And you were talking before about how what we're doing is still something, very similar. Are we just reinventing software engineering, or we're kind of doing this, or relearning the same things?
Right.
And these guys are absolutely not doing that. They're kind of wild to watch. One of my favorite ones to watch right now, it goes by Bridgemind. Find him on YouTube. He live streams a lot. He'll do 7-8 hour live streams. And I'm going to be slightly critical of this dude, but I also want to be clear that I'm not throwing any shade and I'm a fan.
Okay.
Right? I think he's like 21, 22. He's trying to build this company to I think get $1 million in ARR. He's been live streaming for like 115 days now.
Good for him.
And he'll do like 6-8 hours. And his flow is, and it's evolved a lot. And I only recently became a watcher and a fan of this, but he'll open like 16 Claude Code terminals. Sessions, and he's dictating everything by the voice, and he just goes between each session. The first one, he's like, all right, research potential revenue on new models for marketing on YouTube. Next tab, I'd really like to support Facebook as a login mechanism in my app. Next tab, the other day I didn't get my password confirmation email. Launch 18 agents and simulate users and figure out why that's not happening. Next tab, we really need to update to the latest version of Nest.js. Please research what the latest version is and all of its new features and anything that we can take advantage of, make it happen. Next tab. And nonstop, he goes through it as fast as, literally as fast as that.
Right.
And when I'm watching it, I mean, first,
he doesn't have one AI dev. He has a bunch of
16
AI devs. Yeah.
All going at the same time. And I don't think he has any kind of real background in software development. And he clearly doesn't understand a lot of the concepts, but he clearly also understands a lot of stuff. And I don't think
Well, he understands subdivision of labor.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to come together.
Understand not stepping on one another's toes. Like each thing you described there was conceptually different enough that they're going to work on different parts of the code base. Good for that.
But in watching it, I was thinking that how I'm approaching AI-driven development is very much from a software engineering perspective. From a software engineer first, then enabled by AI. But I think there's this future which is AI native development. I think this dude's AI native. He never worked for however many years at startups and companies building software, going to all the meetings, writing all the specs, figuring it all out, writing tests, having to get things into production and monitor and this and acceptance, all that stuff. He's just like, this is make Facebook work, make the password work, figure out a new revenue model, figure out, upgrade the back end. And if there's something new we can take advantage of, do it. And I mean, I don't think the AI is able to do that yet well, but I also think that that's a future. Like, yeah, today I have some special knowledge that where my shit's going to work better.
Facebook
but
login thing. Oh, there's tokens you need to get. You have to worry about cores or some nonsense. I don't know.
Of course you do.
Yeah, there are specific things that you, a programmer, will have just absorbed over the years that help you direct the AI in a useful and productive path. And someone who is just completely vibe coding, no experience in the field whatsoever. I very much have noticed a senior engineer and a junior engineer using the same AI tools will get different quality results. But I think that gap is very much closing, especially because sub-junior people who aren't programmers can do what but a couple of years ago would have been a mid-level engineer's worth of work, basically. just with like weird missing stuff, or like, why didn't you ever go down this path to figure out what that thing was? But those problems, I'm pretty sure, will just disappear. Question is there room for folks like yourself and me in the future, or is it all going to be AI native engineers? At the hiring level, I know for someone like myself, I'm not telling people to shy away from it. If there's like a take-home exam, test, whatever, yeah, you like, why would I tell someone not to use AI at this point? Because one, they're going to be using it if we hire them. And two, if I tell them not to do it, everyone's going to be doing it anyways. So I have to embrace that present and future, don't I?
I think it's at some level, though, you need to know what it is that you want.
Right. I mean, and that's back to, we were just talking about this earlier, this episode. You need to be more of a product manager at this point. You have to have a good idea of what the end product looks like and be able to describe that. Communication is so important, because whatever you have in your mind both needs the hammer and anvil against the AI of, oh, you wanted actually this. Oh, now that I've seen that, I realized I didn't want that. I want you to make something different. But you have to communicate with the implementer of your vision in order to get what you wanted.
I'm imagining, there's an AI that builds awesome cars. And so I'm going to go talk to the AI. I don't know a lot about cars. I'm like, make it fast, please. Right. Fast car. Me want fast car. Mm-hmm. Me want
and
car,
then you get a
car
sled
drive self.
with a rocket on the back.
Car drive self. Okay. Me want car I can have conversation with. And then like, what else? Oh, me want car pick up groceries for me. But is the most beautiful revolutionary car going to ever come out of that conversation? No. Why? Because I don't have a well enough developed point of view about cars in order to pull the best car ever from the AI. And so...
Right. It could make it, but you're not asking it the right way.
Yeah.
Subject matter expertise still, dare I say, matters.
And so, of course, in the future, the AI will get better at you just saying, well, just make me a great car. Talk to me and make me a great car. It's going to get better at that. But it's going to be very similar to everybody else who said, make me a great car. You're not going to get something truly new.
I have a good example of exactly what you're describing. Despite the fact that I played the saxophone for years and years whenever I was younger, I didn't ever pick up
and Bill Clinton.
Anything.
I said you and Bill Clinton.
Yes. He played the tenor, I played the alto. I never learned any music theory. Just like none of it. I know what like chords are, but I don't know anything about Mixolydian mode or anything like that. I don't know any of that stuff. Fell down a YouTube rabbit hole of like someone who does know a bunch about that, and they're using synths, like synthesizers, and they're making really cool music, and there's $300 devices that'll, have the lights going across. Oh, and it's just like a little button pad, and then someone makes some cool music out of it. Whoa, that's neat. I don't want to spend $300 on a thing that I don't know how to use and would not use. This seems like a professional tool. And then I kind of look over at an open Claude tab that's just sitting there. I'm like, well, hey, Claude, can you make me a synth? And I described using what very limited musical related language that I have of like, it needs to look like this. And I want to be able to like select these different chords with different whatevers. And I told it like the device that I had been looking at, said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll research that. Goes on their like website. Oh, it's this kind of thing. And it does this. Give me a sec. Bip, bip, bip. And then an artifact came up, and with like 2 iterations on it. Oh, there's a bug here. Oh, I want you to add this. I ended up with a multi-page thing that could do like loops that you could record of do this chord for this long, then change it to this chord. And it was all doing like circle of fifths type stuff of like, oh, this chord will always sound kind of okay, at least next to one of these other ones, and change the tempo and change how long you do it. And then the other mode, using my computer keyboard, emulated like a piano keyboard to then be able to record and loop me playing some sort of music over that chord loop that I did, which is some kind of synthesizer sort of thing. And it cost about $1 in tokens and half an hour of me going back and forth. Oh, that's neat. I made like what I suspect is the kind of software that other people buy. Granted, way, way more feature rich than what I came up with. But like still, to say a person wants to have a really basic version of this thing, you can make that. I also know enough to know that it is nowhere near the probably many hundreds of dollars worth of like software suites or the physical gadgets or whatever. But still, I made, if not the actual good car that can go pick up your groceries and be self-driving, a car, as it were.
Yeah. You can just do things now. I like that phrase. That you can just do things. What is it you want to do? Just
make whatever.
Just start. You can do it. Tell Claude Code. Tell ChatGPT. Recently, I've been using Codex because I have my ultra VIP Sam Altman fanboy club membership.
Sure.
And I now use Codex, the terminal version, way more than I'm using Cursor. It is Cursor. I can't even remember the name of my own tools. Yeah, my IDE. I use the IDE for debugging and for reviewing diffs. So when the AI agent makes changes, I'll review them in Claude Code. But I'm just using the terminal. It's very similar to Claude Code. It integrates with my issue tracker. I use Linear, which has a MCP integration. So I just say, hey, Codex, please implement this ticket. And then I go do something else. Yeah.
It goes and does it.
It does it.
It's awfully nice. I would dare say that it's getting a bit more self-aware.
It is. It is getting more and more self-aware. I was trying to think of what's the, we're still at the beginning of the year now. How do we think it's going to be different at the end of the year? Where is this going? I think one area is speed. So I got to try out one of the Grok models, the XAI models, which is ridiculous. And I'm sure there are other ridiculously fast ones. And I don't know if you've tried any of these ridiculously fast ones where you prompt and you basically get your code kind of instantly. And they aren't as good as these
Grok,
deep thinking.
Not the Elon Musk XAI one. Grok.
No,
the other
Elon Musk XAI one. They have a Grok Fast. There's
a different Grok out there.
Yeah,
for those
which is also very fast.
Yes, and so like their whole deal is they have special chips that make model go very fast.
Yes, but no, this was it was on like a free special, like try this model out, and so I was trying it out. But I never tried out one of these super fast ones, and it is a different experience because just when you get results instantly versus, as I said, I usually wait between 8 and 18 minutes to get the results from one of my prompts. And when it's instant,
now that's not for most people. That 8 to 18 minutes, for those of you listening, that's presumably, Hunter, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have it doing a bunch of tests, you have it following up, it's working with an existing code base.
Yes, as
opposed to like, I need you to make this one change and just make the change and be done. That's going to take 30 seconds to 2 minutes probably.
Right. This is implementing a complex feature with a number of very highly documented requirements and a laundry list of requirements for the code and the code base, and everything has to conform. And there's all sorts of
the tests to
correct.
Run
there's all sorts of automated tests to make sure that everything is conforming to the specs. And but I think by the end of the year we're going to be much closer to instant. And I do think that's going to change things.
I don't think instant is where the progress comes from. I think more people realizing what you said just a few minutes ago, you can just do stuff now. Like, as more people realize how empowered they've become, some of the benefits of the ability to create are going to keep coming online.
Sure.
And it's going to have ripple effects of entire sub-industries are going to collapse. Of like, for example, as a Secret Santa gift for a friend, I went on Google Gemini because it has Nano Banana Pro, the really, really good image maker and editor. And I had it make Magic the Gathering cards with like his picture and it's something like based on him. And it looked really good. And it supposedly was a realistic looking card with realistic looking rules and stuff. I don't know the game very well, but it sure seemed pretty good to me, and he liked it. So I guess it was all right. But if you go on Etsy, like the internet people will make stuff site, ETSY, there are a bunch of people who will make custom Magic the Gathering cards that cost like dozens of dollars per one. And I suspect that little cottage industry is at risk of being overrun by AI generated versions. And then some people will always want the completely handcrafted version. But if you say, I just want like a version of it, and if I can get one for $5, sure, I'll do that. Then that is going to continue to happen. And that's one tiny example, a million versions of which I think people are going to realize I could be empowered to make something, make products, make services.
Sure.
We'll see a lot more of that this year.
I think that's the angle of how is humanity changing? How are the end users changing? But I'm trying to think about the technology and where will the technology be in a year? How is it going to be? So one of my problems in thinking about this is I think we're at the moment where if you're using the latest and the great, you're using Claude Opus. Is it 4.1, 4.2, 4.1,
4.5,
4.5, whatever the latest version of Claude Opus. If you can give it the right prompt, it is as good as a very good senior engineer. You gotta have the right prompt. So, but we have achieved good senior level engineering. Again, maybe we haven't achieved principal architect, but we've achieved good senior level engineering, which is enough for the vast majority of software development organizations. Yeah. So like that part doesn't really need to get that much better, and I'm sure it will get better, but like you're kind of there. So
completely
then it's about
agreed.
The prompt being easier, because you need a great prompt. At least I'm telling that to myself because Hunter, you're still useful. You can write a great prompt. Unlike
surely I should still have a job.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna have to keep me employed, folks, because I gotta write the prompts. Okay.
Where the technology I think is headed is more of what you were describing, that vibe coder YouTuber of like 16 tabs. Right now, context windows and so on limit something's ability to. I'm starting a new session. What do I know? I've just come into existence. I guess I'll read this file and help you accomplish your task. Imagine having, like what that person was doing, where each thing almost could have been its own developer in a different department. A bunch of, like, we've already gone down the route of agents, but agents themselves being more persistent, or at least more able to spin up already, there are memory modules out there, but this being like more of a tightly integrated process where you could say, I now have, Dylan, Fred, Jill, and Sam, whatever, like these 4 agents that I can come back to time and time again that I know are basically just my employees. And you've talked about Devin, the AI employee, but I'm saying like via Claude Code or via Cursor, via any of these things, I think by the end of 2026, we'll be much more used to, I can just say something and know everything that is downstream of it already knows about its own little subdomain a bit better. That like personalization / persistence, I think is going to get a lot better.
Well, Daniel, I'm here for it. And I think our listeners, they're here for it too. But I can just hear them asking right now. They're ringing in my ear. Daniel, how will we know? How will we know what has changed? What has happened? How will we know if we finally achieve self-awareness in 2026? Do you have any secrets there?
I have one secret.
Have you been gatekeeping again?
I haven't. No, I'm freely sharing this information. Subscribe to this very podcast via Apple, Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're all over the place. You should, wherever you find podcasts, find us, subscribe to us, like us, comment about us. We answer the comments. We love the comments. Let us know what's going on. We will let you know what's going on, and we'll let you know once they all are.
Back for another episode of
They might be self-aware.